Needing no other help from humans, their hidden institutions were excluded from modern times. Aligned on their own path, these Amazons were allowed to cast their own unique civilization. A nation created by women, fated by the gods of old, bold spirit and inherent strength tenfold from the standard human mold.
Hi, and welcome home to You Are the Compass Fast 10 series. I will let our next guest take you on a bit of an adventure if you're up for it. Let me introduce you and to the show, poet and author Peter Gunn. Peter, thanks for joining and welcome home to You Are the Compass.
Thank you for having me on, Jesse. It's a pleasure.
Okay, now I'd just like to add before we continue, we are connecting with a 14-hour time difference across continents, night and day. There may be a little link with our journey on this episode, who knows? Peter, there are so many different avenues with poetry and literary pieces out in the world these days. Can you tell us about your unique writing style of LLP, which is linked lyrical poetry, and what exactly it is?
Well, let me go back a little bit in time to when I first started considering doing this. Is when I had my daughter in 2010. Okay, I wanted to, of course, enroll her into my love of poetry, and then I started looking at the epics, like the Iliad and the Odyssey, Beowulf, things like that. I mean, I loved them as a child, but then you can't help but think, why would a young girl want to read these things? What's in it for her? She can't. Not only can she not, understand where it's coming from, but there's no, so we say, positive feminine roles in it. So why would she want to, other than it maybe, forcibly being assigned to her in school to read it? So it made me start thinking about what I could do to alleviate that. And then I was coming across in T.S. Eliot's book, Poets and Poetry. He said poetry has to be able to correlate to the people of the day that are reading it. So if you were to say to yourself, if I was to speak in poetry, this is what it would sound like. Okay, well then you start referencing that to the poets of the past, the Iliad and the Odyssey, Beowulf, doesn't quite fit. Even Shakespeare, people you oftentimes have to have Shakespeare explain to them, like, they don't understand what he's saying, you know. Um, and I've realized that, well, then we have to bring this up to date. We need to reinvent poetry, a new form of poetry that the younger generation, so like Gen Alpha that's up and coming, Gen Z, can understand. So I started looking. I mean, I studied just about every form of poetry there is out there, and I need to come up with something unique, something you can understand, which is closely based to rap. And you see the younger generation, they'll have rap songs memorized verbatim, like forward and backwards, and it's easy for them. So that's why I decided to create LLP, linked lyrical poetry, which is closely related to rap. It has a rhyme to it, but the repetitive pentameter of a normal poem is, you have A A B in a poem. That's thrown out. Okay, because not only is it very difficult to write epic poetry in that fashion, it's next to impossible, but it's also they can't relate to it. So I needed to keep a rhyme scheme going in a poem, and be able to then should we say like stoke the creative spark within their minds, where then
Yes.
maybe I could write in creative poetry like that, and start maybe have more people interested in doing it, because it's falling to the wayside. No one's writing poetry anymore, and anyone that is really sort of somewhat maligned about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Peter, because even when you draw reference to, I guess, Shakespeare and Beowulf, you've got them in movie characters. You got them in a point of reference for the modern day era, but you
Yeah,
don't
they
really
needed
have
to
that
upgrade it,
in
to change it.
books.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know the only reason why I probably draw reference to Harry Potter is because those books were actually written at when I was 11 years old. It
Mhm.
wasn't that I knew the movies, it was that I read the books and then
Yeah.
I could enjoy them from there. So I guess we need point of reference for that.
Mhm.
Could you maybe give us a little bit of a line or two in what a rap LLP would be?
Okay, one second.
I'm putting you on the spot here, I know.
Well, I could read the prologue, the first
Yeah, yeah.
paragraphs. Okay.
Maybe the first one you wrote and read to your daughter?
Okay, this is beginning the prologue of the Amazons. We have
Okay.
all seen ladies gently take their beau's hand and understand their place in society. But why do they allow themselves to be tamed when their heart is being eaten away with desire? Perhaps they have an internal fire to break away from what society requires. But mired, very far away, was a place where women ruled the land and men exclusively for breeding. Needing no other help from humans, their hidden institutions were excluded from modern times. Aligned on their own path, these Amazons were allowed to cast their own unique civilization, a nation created by women, fated by the gods of old, bold spirit and inherent strength tenfold from the standard human mold.
Ooh, that's interesting. I'm already sort of like picturing the illustrations in my
And
mind.
do you
Yeah,
hear the rhyme scheme? Do you hear the
I do.
words? Yes, but it's very faint.
Yeah.
So
Very
it
faint,
actually
very
it got me
subtle.
the nickname as a spellcaster because people are like, "Oh, I'm being drawn in like it's a spell."
Yeah, it's like you're hanging on every word kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and you get used to it. You get it gets addictive. Yeah, and people have
100%.
told me that like one of my friends who's a produces a podcast that helps me out. She said that she started talking in LLP without her realizing it. She started,
Mm.
after she was done reading, she had a whole couple of paragraphs of discussion. She was rhyming it, and then the person asked them, "Are you intentionally doing that?" Yeah,
Yeah,
sort of stuck in their heads.
just kind of rolls off the tongue, or you take a
Mhm.
little bit of that story and you kind of mold it to be your own and
Yeah.
go from there. I love that. And when did all this start? Like, how many years ago did you put pen to
Well,
paper and
it's
you're
been
like,
an
"I'm
ongoing
gonna do this?"
process. I mean, I've rewritten the Amazons about 8 times. It took about 8 years, no, not 8 years, 2 years total, and time to write it, and it's an ever-changing process. I'm about halfway through the second book, which will
Mm,
hopefully be coming out soon. LLP isn't for the weak of heart. Okay, if you could go down that
right.
road. I know a lot of publishers and writers are used to, getting page after page after page of content, and that's great. But with LLP, you have to take your time. You could write a whole page out, and it would take you an hour or 2 hours just for a whole page. It's very time consuming, and also you have to be willing to throw it out if the rhyme scheme doesn't work. So then all that time you put in is thrown out the door, and then you have to start from the beginning. Yeah.
100%. And where does, this is a bit of off-piste question, where does AI sort of come to in in it these
I
days?
wish. I wish. I've actually tried all the AIs with LLP to see if
Yeah,
they could catch on. It
yeah,
takes
no,
it takes too much creativity outside the
yeah,
box thinking for the AI to understand it because it
yeah,
looks for repetitive pentameters again, and I'm
yeah.
like, no, I keep telling it it's creativity in its basic form, and it doesn't understand it, so it can't regenerate it. Yeah,
It needs a lyrical genius behind it to back it up.
perhaps yes.
Tell me, where is your trajectory for this? What's your vision for LLP in the future?
Well, I would like to start teaching classes here in the near future if people have again enough people interested, and then also get it into schools as
Yes.
a new alternative form of poetry that could inspire the younger generation to get into something they understand.
Mm.
Something they're not going to see as an old, decrepit way people used to be. Something they could get into and actually write their own stories in LLP.
Something even that the teachers and the education system could potentially adopt and
Yes.
incorporate into their
Yeah.
learnings and teachings with the children.
Mhm.
I think that's a great way to get the important messages of today across for sure. Peter, thank you for being a guest on the show. I'll be sure to link your contact details in the show notes. And you said, are they on Amazon at the moment, the books?
Yes, you could go to Amazon Kindle and type in Peter Gunn the Amazons, or go to my website www.petergunn.net.
Perfect. Well, thanks for being a part of the show, Peter.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure and an honor.
And thanks to our listeners for sharing with us in literary space and time from wherever in the world you're joining from. This has been You Are the Compass Fast 10 series with guest Peter Gunn. The musical intro and outro is produced by Ornate Mosh. Interested in your own unique jingle? Connect via the link in the About section of this podcast. Thank you. You have been listening to You Are the Compass, produced and hosted by Jassy Clayton.